This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, we're here.
Okay. Okay, I think in the demo sessions, we talked about development and release process. And at the same time, we also looked at what are the tools that we will be using in DevOps and in especially creating the CI/CD pipeline and whatnot, right? Okay. Now we will start with a sample code, and then we will actually go with how we are going to leverage each and every of these tools to really uh, connect that dots in the entire release pipeline using various tool chain. Okay, good. So some of you are actually having a fair understanding of how the development cycle works, and then some of you have experience, okay, in DevOps as well, and some of you are completely new to IT. So for those who are completely new to IT, so I want to start with some basic programming. Okay, so that's where we will start today. Okay, how will basic programming will work and how you will create a project, and from that project we will take you to various tools and everything, right? So we talked about the software development lifecycle, various phases of software development lifecycle. But whereas a software is not just one single file or one single product, right? So it's basically an integration of multiple software files or multiple files. Okay, of course, each file has written for a different purpose. Okay, and when all these things combine, then you will achieve your overall project. Okay, so we will start with that basic fundamental file, how you write something. Okay, or how you can actually create a project using some of the tools that are already available. Okay, so in order to just work on any IT project, so you need to understand a basic programming language, any programming language. For our DevOps course, we will concentrate on Java, which is one of the programming languages. Okay, so how many of you have either experience or an understanding of Java? Anyone? No one has any experience in Java. I think I heard a couple of you. Okay.
Yeah, I have a understanding of Java. I work with Java, but I'm not a developer, right? I just only automation. I use it for automation.
Okay.
Sorry, I have 12 years of experience in Java.
Okay. So Malika, you have 12 years experience. Okay.
Yeah.
And who else?
I know
This is Susmita.
Yeah, Aruna and Krishna.
Even I have 3 years of experience.
Okay. So okay, good. So it's a mixed pack, right? Okay. Some of you are having experience in Java. Okay. So as a developer, okay, you need a place, basically a repository to really commit or check in your code, right? Which is usually we're going to use Git as that. But before we go there, okay, so I want to start with how basically the development works and basically how we can start with a simple code base. Okay, right? Okay. And even before writing a piece of code, okay, we want to understand the agile practices, like how the code and everything is actually first of all, we need to understand how the project is getting divided into various sprints, and then actually how you will be able to really understand, okay, what is going into this current sprint and how the developers are actually getting aligned and all this stuff. Okay, I'll come to that Jira part and then agile part little later. Okay, but for today, what we can do is actually start with some piece of code. Okay, and which will actually help you understand, for all the people who has never worked in IT, understand, okay, how a code works, especially in Java. Okay, and I'll go back to the standard process of actually the entire agile or scrum practices, okay, later. Okay, so now one thing that usually traditionally that we used to do is that we have an IDE, integrated development environment, okay, which is nothing but an editor, okay, of course with all the integrations and the plugins embedded into it, okay. That's what you need, okay, in order to develop any code or basically write any code, okay, which is actually going to help you with local debugging and everything. Another way to, so basically you will have an IDE and then you will open up an IDE and then you will start writing your code, okay. We'll start with something simple as hello world, okay. That's one way of actually handling. Another thing is there are some ways to really generate a particular project. So for example, Maven is there, okay. So Maven has a lot of archetypes, what we call it as. That means a lot of templates for any project that you wanted to create, okay. So rather than writing from scratch, okay, or creating one file at a time or adding all these files into your project, so you can pre-decide what type of project that you are actually going to work on. That means, is it a web project? That means developing a website, okay? Or is it an enterprise archive project? Or is it something simple library that will be used in another projects? So depending on that, okay, or again, within those projects, you will have various flavors. Is it a Hibernate one, a Spring one, or whatever those flavors, okay, that you wanted to use within Java, okay. So that is actually going to help you to create a template for your project. So usually Maven will help you. It already has a lot of templates, or you can create your own templates later for your company also, okay. So from those templates, Maven will help you create one sample project for you, okay. So once you create the project template, okay, then you can actually put this entire project code base into your GitHub, okay, and you can let all the developers access this code base saying, okay, this is the standard structure of your project, okay. Now you go use this structure, put your Java classes appropriately in the right place, okay. So I'll explain what are those right places where they need to put Java versus the properties versus all other files, right, okay. So why Maven has this, Maven is more of a structured repository, okay. Whereas before Maven, like when we used to have Ant and all these things, there is no structure to a particular project code base, okay. So when there is no structure, you have full freedom. You can put your files wherever you want, okay, in your code repository. But when you want to build the code, okay, the biggest problem is you need to pinpoint each and every file path in your Ant script, saying this is where my file A is, this is where my file B is, these are where my dependent libraries are, this is where my property files and all this stuff is, okay. So that is one of the biggest disadvantages, okay, of unstructured repositories, right, okay. So before Maven, we used to have those kind of unstructured repositories. That's why Ant is used extensively, okay. And the Ant build script, what we call it as build.xml, usually used to take basically thousands of lines just to make sure we are pinpointing each and every file path, okay, and each and every set of files, of course, okay, and build that together. And when something changes and when there's a new file, then again you need to go back and then modify your build script. That's a painful job. Whereas in Maven, you will be building the template and you're not going to change any template, and there will be a form.xml from Maven you will be able to generate, build at any point of time. So as long as the structure is not disturbed, that's supposed to be like that, okay. People can add more files into the right place, okay, and keep on modifying the files. You don't need to change any of your build script, which is your form.xml. Only thing that you need to change, of course, developers will be changing, is if there is any dependency. That means if your file is depending on additional Java library, okay, or any Java file, you just need to mention that file name. Okay, that too there is a format. Okay, the dependency management format. You need to mention group ID, archive ID, and okay, the version number of that particular dependency file, and that's a simple thing. Okay, you need to mention in your form.xml. So that's the advantage of Maven. Okay, so we will get into Maven. We'll go deep into Maven, how Maven will be used, and all this stuff. Okay, but for today, let's start writing a simple Java program. Okay, which is hello world. Okay, so but can I just write a simple Java program and will it work? No. Okay, because you need a Java runtime engine, okay, to really make it work, right? Okay, so and also I need a Java compiler in order to compile my file what I have written. Okay. So how will you test, okay, whether you have, how will you first get to know, okay, whether is your Java runtime engine is there in your laptop or computer, or you do have a Java development kit on your laptop, right? So Java development kit contains the commands like Java C for compilation and all. Okay, so Java will have two different things. One, to develop the code, which is called as Java development kit, JDK. Second part is basically JRE, Java runtime engine. Okay, so in general, by default, any laptop when you buy or anything, if you open up your command prompt, okay, and if you say Java, okay, you will definitely have Java runtime engine, because it's not only the files that you write, there will be a lot of Java based applications that you are already installed and running. Okay, so JRE comes default, okay, with your operating system, of course. Okay, so Java command will work. That means you can run any program that is written in Java. Okay, but when you look at Java C, okay, unless until you install JDK, okay, on your laptop, it will not work. Okay, so here I do have Java C on my laptop. Okay, so that means I have already installed my Java, okay, on this computer. Now I need to know which version of Java I am using. So I can actually use, okay, sorry, Java. So these are all the options that you can use if you are not actually familiar with Java. Okay, so for example, if you want to look at Java as a command, okay, you can actually use Java and any of these options to really show, okay, say minus version, okay, which will give you what version of JRE you are using. Okay, and another thing is, if you are using Java C, okay, you can also use, okay, what version of, okay, Java C you're using. So rather than just saying shortcut, I need to say, okay, full version. Okay, so here if you look at, I'm using 14, version 14 of Java. Okay, it's a runtime engine, by the way. Okay, and same, I'm using the compiler also, version 14. Of course, I might be pointing to the same JDK base. Okay, that's why it's showing the same version. Okay, how will you know where is your JDK base? You can actually look at some of those path variables, and then it will give you. If you say path, it will give you, okay, what are the various uh, basically file paths that you have. Okay, which is embedded into your program. So if you have JDK 14 bin, this is what my path says. Okay, so again, some of you are new to IT. What is path? Okay, so path is generally the basically a place that your computer will look up. That means, let's say you gave a command in your command line saying XYZ. Okay, path will actually go to all these places, what you are seeing on this screen now, okay, and search for a file called XYZ. It is an executable file called XYZ. If it finds that file, it will just execute it and it will give the results. If it doesn't find, then it will give a output saying, so for example, if I give XYZ, say XYZ is not recognized as an internal or external command, okay, operable program or batch file. So that means when I type in XYZ, it is going to search in all the standard paths. These are all the paths where I am telling my computer to search when I type in a command. Okay. So it is searching. Earlier, when I said Java C, it searched Java C and it found it under the JDK bin and it executed it. Now XYZ, there's no command like that. That's why it is saying there is no internal recognized internal or external command. Okay, so that's how path works. Okay, so for example, you have a new software, okay, and you want to make it work. So you need to add all the executables of that new software into this path. Okay, or nowadays a lot of installers are there. If you click on the installer, that will take care of it. Okay, so basically the installer will come and add all those details to the path. Okay, so that's how your software will be added to the path, and then it will be easily recognized when you type a command. Okay, so that's about the path. Okay, there is a different concept called class path. Okay, where if there is a dependency of, like, let's say you want to execute a Java file, but there is a library that needs to really run this Java program, then you need to put that in the class path and mention in the Java C command somewhere. Okay, so Java C hyphen minus class path. Okay, and you need to give the path of that particular file. Okay, so that's we'll get it there soon. Okay, so now in Java there are two parts, as I mentioned. First of all, you need to develop a simple file, okay, and you need to run, okay, a particular file. In order to develop, you need Java development kit, okay, and you may not necessarily need a IDE that is like Java editor or anything. You can simply open up a notepad and then write a program, okay, but start executing it. But when you have a Java IDE environment, the advantage is that all these class paths and all these things will be taken care, okay, in the backend and in a simple few UI based steps actually, okay. Whereas if you wanted to run everything on a notepad, then you will go through a lot of pain around, okay, the compilation errors will not be identified by default, you need to run and see, okay, and all the dependencies you need to again mention in the class paths and all this stuff. There's a lot of overhead actually, okay, but that's how it started. When the Java initially started, notepad is the only option that you need to write the code in and then do all these things manually. But there is a lot of optimization over there. Now you have more sophisticated IDEs, okay. So Eclipse is one of those IDEs which is on open source. Okay, NetBeans is another IDE. Okay, you can actually use, and there are a lot of other flavors that you wanted to use also. Okay, so you need to be careful in what IDE you're using, because some of the IDEs will have tight dependency on the environment configuration. Okay, so if you develop a code in one IDE, that may not work as is, okay, into another IDE unless until you port that, okay, that will be working in any of other IDEs, right? So you need to be careful. Okay. So of course, any company will have a standard development practices. They will be standardizing one of the IDEs in general, saying this is the IDE you're supposed to use. And that means whatever the code you develop within that company, it will be working for others as well. So you wanted to now let's see if I have an IDE or not. Okay. So I have a Python IDE, but I also have NetBeans here. Okay. So let's open. It's going to take a lot of time usually. Okay. Uh, so while NetBeans comes up, okay. So let's see what is the code that you wanted to, okay, develop. Okay. So simple Java code, right? Okay. So I will just say Java hello world. I wanted to explain the code to those newbies so that okay, it will be easy when they run. Okay, so this is what we are going to basically work on, right? So Java is basically a programming language which will actually take some inputs and then give you some outputs, but it has a lot of dependency. And Java, of course, is an object-oriented programming language, right? Okay, that means it has multiple pieces and modules to it where they can talk to each other. Okay, and so now if you want to understand, I'm not going to teach the Java completely in this session. Okay, that's going to be a completely different subject, but we will go through the high level, okay, details of what is what in Java program. Okay, just for you to understand, okay, what this program means. Okay, so for example, this simple hello world program here, okay, is saying class hello world public static void main and string array arguments, and there's something called system.out.println. And when you run this program, okay, so what it is saying is, okay, it's saying hello world. Basically, it's giving you that output. Excuse me. Okay, so now let's understand. Okay, forget about the output. Okay, that'll be easy part. Okay, let's understand how a Java program, simple Java program works. Okay, so in any Java program, you need to define something called a class. So basically, every program that you write, what we call in Java is a class. Okay, whatever you write, okay, in Java is class basically. Okay, so that's why we start with class and the name to the class. Basically, this is the name of the class. Okay, and ideally you are supposed to save this particular entire thing in the file name called hello world.java. Okay, you're giving the name as hello world, so keep the file name also as hello world.java, hello world.java. And but it is not mandatory, by the way. You can keep hello world.java as your file name, okay, whereas you can keep xyz as your class name. But the problem that you're going to face is when you compile this, the class file that it is going to generate, okay, will be xyz.class. That's the only problem. Okay, if you want to maintain it that way, that's okay, that's absolutely fine. But in general practice is always make sure your class name and your file name matches. Okay, so now you have a hello world class. Okay, so this is basically outer body of this entire program. Okay, so you have a beginning of this entire class and you have an ending of this class. So these, Francis, just give me 1 second, I'm getting a call. Okay, folks, give me 2 minutes. There's someone at the door. Okay, I will come back in.
Sir, I can't hear you.
He's out.
Oh, sorry. I think I was on mute. Okay, but I have been talking. Okay, the last 2-3 minutes. Sorry. Okay, I'm back, and then okay, let me go back to this Java class, right? Okay. So now you all can hear me, right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So the hello world class, okay, is basically begins here and ends here. This is how Java usually treats any block of code. It can be a class, it can be a method, it can be any a block of code, okay, in general. So it will use these braces to really identify that piece, right? And Java class is nothing but a combination of, okay, multiple methods. And one such method is basically main method. Okay, so every Java class usually will have a main method. Okay, so when you have this main method, what happens is this is the first method that will be executed in general when you execute the Java class. Okay, and all other methods can be called here, or any other references can be going from here. Okay, so this main method is the key thing that for any Java class. So what we are trying to do in this main method today is that we are just trying to print hello world when you run this. Okay, we are just trying to get an output of hello world. How is it possible? By putting a system.out.println, and within the parentheses we'll be able to give that hello world text whatever we want. Now, in order to understand this Java main method a little deeper, okay, so public is basically a qualifier which will actually tell you that this method can be accessible, okay, from outside when you run this particular program. Okay, so static is more around, okay, it's another basically an identifier which will actually not let you change any of the runtime values, okay, for this particular method. Void is basically a return value, okay, for this method. For example, if you are calculating something 2 plus 2 and the value of 4, if you want to return to a different method or a different class, so you will be returning that value here. Here it is just printing hello world, so we are not needing any return value. Okay, so that's why we always call it as void. And also in general, main methods will not return any return value. Reason being, that's the first class that will be executed. There is no other class that will catch the return value from this particular method. So that is the key thing. Okay, so that's why main will always have a void as a return value. And when you look at within main, okay, under parenthesis, this is basically a string array. Okay, so when you have that brackets, okay, that's called string array, and we are giving a name to that string array as args. Okay, so what is the string array? Okay, so string array is nothing but multiple strings together. Okay, for those people who are new to IT, it is multiple strings. String means you can put a name, or like basically it can be word, a simple word is actually called as a string. Okay, why this particular area of strings is here? So when you want to run a program, sometimes you may need to give some input to that program, right? So as arguments, input arguments. Okay, so let's say you're running a simple calculator. I can run a calculator at Java program, and it can ask me what is the first value, what is the second value, and you want to multiplication or division, and this is the result. That's one way of doing it. Whereas I want to do calculator 2 plus 2. Directly in my arguments, I want to give 2 plus 2. Okay, then it should return the value as 4. Then these 2 and plus and 2 are actually my input arguments. So this array is going to capture those input arguments, provide them as input arguments are the values, okay, the predefined values into my program, where I will be doing all the calculation and will give you the output. So that's the advantage of having that string array, okay, in the main method. So that's how it will take the values. Okay, now system.out.println. See, generally if you want to print anything, okay, where will you print? You need to print to your one of the standard output terminals, right? Okay, So the fundamentals when you read in IT is that, so you will have this standard input device, standard output device, and all this stuff, right? So your system, that means your operating system will be the first thing, and then your output terminal, of course your screen, okay, or printer if you have, okay, and print ln, okay. Basically what it is saying is that on your system, onto your output device, print a line, okay. So ln means basically you can say print or print ln also. So when you say print ln, print in a new line, basically that means take the cursor to the next line and then print it, okay. If it is only print, wherever the cursor is, it will start printing from there, it will start putting the output from there. That's the only difference. Okay, I think this fundamental basics, okay. Some of you are already well experienced in Java, I don't need to explain that, but some whoever is new, that's how this program is explained, right? So this hello world, okay, is basically a simple Java program which is going to print this text, whatever you are mentioning within this line, okay, when you execute this program. Okay, so are we ready to execute this program? Okay, now I'm actually opening my NetBeans, which is my IDE, okay, and I'm creating a new file, okay, which is my, you can actually keep this as part of any project or basically choose a file type, okay. Let's see others. So I'm choosing a file type called, and I'm saying it's a Java file, okay. So if I choose Java file, okay, and I'm actually giving the file name as hello world. So look at this, I'm giving the file name as hello world, and it's automatically putting that particular file here, hello world.java or something, right? I'm going to change the location of this file where I want to keep, okay. So yeah, I have a lot of demos in here, so I will probably keep it here, okay. Hang on. So I'm just putting it here, and this is the folder, and this is the file name, okay, under which that will be saved, and I just say finish. Okay, see, one of the advantages of using IDE is that I just said I need a new file, which is a Java file, and just give a name to that file. The entire file structure, that coding structure, everything, okay, is actually taken care, okay, by the IDE itself, okay, right from the author name and basically the basic whatever the name that we have given to the file, and it's coming by default with this public void main, public static void main. As I mentioned, this is the default method, and every class will have, okay, by default, right? So, and these are called the comments, okay. Whatever you mention in this comments, like this, okay, will not be treated as code, but they will be treated as comments by Java, okay. And when you want to generate the Java docs, these comments will be very useful, okay, to give all the details for the Java docs and all, right? And also, if you want to debug your code for your maintenance, these comments are very useful, okay. Good. So this is, I think, the advantage of, okay, having, okay, your IDEs. So now we wanted to print hello world, right? So simple. We have already seen system dot. The moment you put, that's another advantage, is that the moment I put system dot, okay, so it is going to give me all the methods, okay, that are under that system class, okay. It's basically, so it's system dot out dot same. So it's going to give all the methods, okay. So here I can give hello world, That's it, right? This is what is written in the previous program and we are looking at. Okay. So now I will just save it. Okay. And I can simply run this class. That's it. Okay. So how to run this from an IDE? Okay. So you can just go. Okay. And here you cannot. You can just say run the file. Okay. Now you will be looking at output of the file as hello world. Okay. So this is as simple as that. But if you want to run in command line, what you need to do is go to that file, say Java C. Okay. So let's just go to that file. Okay. Where did I save the file? Yes. Okay. So if you look at this, this is where your file is, right? So this is coming here already, whatever you have created. Okay. And now if you want to compile this file, okay, the normal way is you will give Java C and then you just say hello world. So now if you look at this directory, there is a new file called hello world.class. Okay. So whatever your Java file, it created a class file name. Okay. With the same name, of course. Okay. Now, if you want to run this, okay, manually, you don't need to give the dot class also, even though you give, doesn't matter. Okay. So if you say Java hello world, it is giving you the result as hello world. Okay. So it's like going a little bit here. Okay. Where is it? Okay. So it's giving you the result as hello world. So manually, this is the way that it will work. Okay. But whereas if you use IDE, you don't need to type in all these commands and all this stuff. You can create a file, do whatever you want in this file, okay, and then just go and run the file, okay. If it is a project also, you can run the whole project, okay. So, but for a simple file, this is how it will be done, okay. So this is how a simple basic program works in Java. I'm not going to go through the entire Java programming language and all this stuff, but you need to understand how a basic program works. Okay, so you have generated a simple output called hello world. Okay, like this, you can generate as many outputs as you want. Like for example, if you want to do a calculator thing, yes, you can take inputs and then give an output. Or if you want to do a financial calculation, you can do that. Or if you want to do some processing everything and then actually give the output, same thing. Okay, but this is how a simple Java program works. So for DevOps, what we need to do is we need to understand, okay, the code first. Okay, so for example, here we did not talk about any dependencies or anything, right? But when we look at some of the things, okay, so in order to execute a program, there will be a jar file that you need to be putting in your class path. Okay, that's called a dependency. Okay, and sometimes you need to be reading it from a file stream, from a file, the actual input from a file. Okay, so all these things are actually the additional things that you need to learn. Okay, in Java. Okay, but from a DevOps perspective, okay, so you need to understand how the code and basically what are the dependencies, especially. Okay, then it will be good enough. Okay, as long as you understand what are the dependencies, that will be good enough. Okay, so now what we need to do is, okay, so couple of things for your exercise today. Okay, one, okay, everybody need to install JDK and an IDE. Okay, otherwise your Maven nothing will work. Okay, and I would say go through some basics. Maybe you can use this link, what I'm referring here. It's just a random search from net, or you can use whatever you want. Okay. So this is for all the folks who have not experienced Java, or doesn't have any experience, right? Okay. So you can use this, okay, as your reference to just go through the basics of, okay, Java programming, and you have all the details here. Okay. And you will understand, okay, what each of the sections mean, right? That's the first thing, is understand this program, and the second thing is you need to install JDK, whatever the latest version, 14 or whatever the latest version, okay? And you need to install one of the IDEs. Go for NetBeans, it will be easy, okay? So NetBeans you can install. These two installations will take some time, okay? That's why I'm asking you to do that offline, okay? Otherwise we can do it together. So better come prepared tomorrow by installing these two, IDE and JDK, okay? And tomorrow I'll tell you how we can generate a code from Maven code base, Maven templates, or what we call it as archetypes. And we will take that as our code for reference, okay, for the rest of the CI/CD pipeline tools and everything, okay? Or we can create any sample code, okay? If anybody want to work on a real-time code, we can actually get some of that also. Any questions? Okay,
No, sir.
we are good for today, but yeah, if you are, um, what are the feedback you have? You can just stop me, and you can actually let me know if I'm going too fast, okay? Or if you're not getting anything, especially for those people completely new to IT. And if it's not getting into your head, please let me know, okay? So we can have some basic fundamental details, because unless until you understand the basic code programming, okay, you will not be able to understand the rest of the tools, okay? It will be little tough, okay? Okay, any questions from anyone?
No, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me. See, actually, you people, sorry, can you explain me that GitHub, all those things? See, which are the tools as of now in market? And those tools, how we can utilize all those things? You can tell, right?
Yeah, Mallikarjun, that's
Just,
where we will go from next session. Okay. So the fundamental programming is basically where we will start. Okay. And next, I will actually first start with Maven. The reason why I want to start with Maven is that it will actually help us to create the program structure, basically the code structure. Once
okay,
you have the code structure, then we'll put the code into Git. The same code, whatever we are generating, we'll put that into Git. So that's when you will learn Git. Okay. So it will be a
sure.
sequence. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Thank
probably in 45 days, what we will do is we will spend couple of days, okay, for each tool, right? And we will end up with hardly around 10 tools, okay, in general. So we'll spend at least 2 or sometimes max 3 days on a particular tool. Okay. So that will actually be good enough for us to really understand, okay, the tool, okay, in general, okay, and it will actually give us a confidence that yes, now I can just now go and create a CI/CD pipeline.
Okay, in the plan you mentioned, right? What are the things we have? We will discuss all those things for 48 days. In the plan, it is there, right?
Yeah.
In the content,
So
what you
that's
sent
what
in the
I've
mail.
explained yesterday, right? In the demo, I have
Hmm.
given all the tools that we'll be going through.
Okay, 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 then, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and see, sometimes we may need to take it little slow. Sometimes we can actually move faster. Okay. And there is no hard line that okay, if I say I need to finish this tool on this day, it will be finished only on that day. And also there might be some breaks in between. I'm sure some of you need a break for Christmas. At least I need. I'm traveling actually. Okay. So those 2 3 days I'll be off, but we'll continue the next Monday. Okay.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Good. Anything else from anyone? Okay, so exercise for today: install JDK, install IDE. Okay, preferably NetBeans. Okay, so come prepared tomorrow so that you can work with me in parallel. Tomorrow, you all are going to execute. You can execute, go ahead and execute any of the programs. Hello World, or you can follow this reference file and then actually continue doing 2-3 programs. That will give you more confidence. Okay, and then tomorrow we'll generate a code base and then move to Git. Yeah, Malkat.
See, actually, I'm using Eclipse as of now from long back onwards. Is it okay, fine, right?
That's
Eclipse.
fine. See, it's your choice. You can use anything, okay? But someone who's new, they can follow along with me. That's why I'm saying NetBeans. But you can use any ID.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, good. Thanks everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.